At dawn, the fog lay thick over the shattered European countryside, hiding burned villages, broken roads, and the silent bodies of yesterday's battle. Somewhere inside that fog, a single American gunner lay pressed into the mud, his fingers numb, his breath slow, his weapon already overheated. Behind him there was nothing, no reinforcements, no retreat, no second line. Ahead of him was an entire German advance column rolling forward with absolute confidence. They believed the road was open. They believed resistance had collapsed. What they didn't know, what would soon terrify them, was that one exhausted gunner had decided this was where the German army would stop, and when his fire refused to break. They made a decision that stunned even their own officers. They sent a Tiger tank to kill him. The road that couldn't fall. The road mattered more than any city name on a map. It was a narrow stretch of crushed stone running between two hills, the only path wide enough for armor and supply trucks to push toward the Allied rear. If the Germans broke through here, entire units behind the line would be surrounded within hours. Command knew it. The enemy knew it. And now only a thin screen of exhausted defenders stood in the way. The gunner had arrived there less than a day earlier. No dramatic speech, no ceremony, just a quiet order and a glance at the map. Hold this road, that was all. His unit had already been chewed apart by artillery and air attacks. Most of the heavy weapons were gone. Ammunition was low, radios barely worked, and yet, when the first German scouts appeared through the fog, he did not move. He positioned his machine gun at a shallow bend where the road dipped slightly. From there, he could see just enough. Not far, not clearly, but enough to kill. The first wave. The Germans came the way they always did when they believed victory was already decided. Infantry first, helmets low, rifles ready, boots crunching steadily forward. They expected scattered fire, maybe a few frightened defenders firing wildly before retreating. What they got instead was a sudden, controlled burst of machine gun fire that cut the lead squad in half before they even understood what was happening. The gunner didn't spray. He didn't panic. He fired in short, deliberate bursts. Shifting aim with discipline learned the hard way. One man fell, then another, then another. German soldiers threw themselves into ditches, shocked by how deadly the fire was coming from such a small section of road. They tried flanking. He shifted position. They tried smoke. He waited for silhouettes. They rushed. He cut them down. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Bodies began to pile up in places where no bodies were supposed to be. German officers radioed back in confusion. This wasn't supposed to happen. The road was supposed to be clear, holding alone. By midday, the fog lifted, and the reality of the situation became terrifyingly clear. The gunner was alone. The rest of his unit had either fallen back, been killed, or lost contact. His machine gun barrel smoked with every burst. His water was gone. His hands shook, not from fear, but exhaustion. Yet still he fired. German infantry attacks came again and again, each one more desperate, each one more violent. Mortars landed closer. Shrapnel tore into the dirt around him. A nearby tree exploded into splinters, slicing his cheek open. Blood ran into his mouth. He wiped it away and kept firing. This wasn't bravery the movies talk about. This was stubborn refusal. This was a man deciding that if the line was going to break, it would break over his body. The German decision. By late afternoon, the German advance had stalled completely. Trucks sat idle. Infantry hugged the ground. Officers shouted orders that no one wanted to follow. The road, this insignificant strip of stone, had become a graveyard. That was when the order came down the German chain of command. If infantry could not silence the gun, armor would. A Tiger tank was assigned to the task. Not just any tank. A Tiger, thick armor, a massive 88mm gun, a machine of steel designed to crush resistance and erase positions from existence. German crews believed Tigers were unstoppable. When a Tiger rolled forward, the enemy usually ran. The crew expected a quick kill. They had no idea what kind of man they were driving toward. The gunner heard it before he saw it. A deep mechanical growl that vibrated through the ground. Trees shook. Loose stones danced on the road. The sound every Allied soldier feared, the unmistakable approach of heavy German armor. He peeked over the edge of his position and saw it emerge from behind the hill. The Tiger, huge, confident, moving straight down the road toward him. He knew what that meant. His machine gun was useless against it. No anti-tank weapons. No air support, no backup. Just seconds to decide how he would die. And yet, he didn't run. The impossible choice. Instead of fleeing, the gunner did something that made no tactical sense. He stayed. He shifted his machine gun, not toward the tank, but toward the infantry, following behind it, because he understood something critical. The Tiger could not advance without support. And if the support died, the Tiger would be blind. As the tank rumbled closer, he opened fire again. German infantry fell screaming beneath his gun, even as the shadow of the Tiger stretched across his position. The tank's machine guns roared back, shredding the ground inches from his body. Dirt buried his face. Bullets screamed overhead. Still, he fired. The Tiger stopped barely 50 meters away. The main gun rotated. The gunner locked eyes with the tank's front plate, knowing that one shell would erase him from existence. He braced himself, not praying, not screaming, just accepting. The shot never came, because the Tiger's commander suddenly realized something horrifying. The road behind them was blocked by bodies. Their infantry support was gone. The tank was alone, exposed to air attack, to artillery, to capture if it pushed forward without protection. One man had turned the Tiger into a liability. The withdrawal. The Tiger fired anyway, blasting the gunner's position apart. The explosion hurled him backward, tearing his weapon from its mount. The world went white, then silent. When he woke, night had fallen. The road was quiet. The Tiger was gone. German forces had pulled back. The line had held. Aftermath. Allied units returned the next morning, expecting to find nothing but wreckage. Instead, they found him, bruised, burned, half-deaf, alive. Around his position lay the evidence of what one man had done. Dozens of fallen enemy soldiers. A road that never fell. A German advance delayed long enough for reinforcements to arrive and seal the gap. Officer. The gunner never claimed heroism. He simply said there was nowhere else to go. Years later, the war would be reduced to photographs, medals in glass cases, and names etched into cold stone. The road he defended would be rebuilt, widened, and driven over by people who would never know what almost happened there. No sign would mark the shallow dip where a single gunner turned back an army. No monument would rise where a Tiger tank once halted in confusion. Because history, cruel as it is, does not always remember men like him. He returned home quietly, carrying scars that never showed on the surface, hands that sometimes shook without warning, sleep broken by the distant sound of engines that no longer existed. When asked what it felt like to face a Tiger tank alone, he never answered directly. He would pause, look down, and say only that fear becomes very small when duty becomes very clear. He did not speak of bravery, because bravery suggests choice. What he felt was responsibility, the heavy, crushing knowledge that if he moved, others would die. And so he stayed. Long after the war ended, officers would write reports analyzing delays, failed advances, and inexplicable resistance on that sector of the front. None of them could fully explain how an entire German push had been stopped by a position that should have collapsed in minutes. The truth was simpler than strategy and more powerful than armor. One man decided that retreat was not an option, and in that decision, louder than any explosion, history quietly shifted direction. War is often remembered through generals, tanks, and maps covered in arrows. But the truth is far smaller and far more terrifying. Sometimes history turns not on strategy, but on a single exhausted soldier lying in the dirt, deciding that fear will not move him. The German army sent a Tiger tank to erase one gunner. Instead, that gunner erased their momentum. And long after the engines went silent and the road returned to dust, the lesson remained. That steel may advance, orders may command, and armies may march. But sometimes, the strongest force on any battlefield is a man who refuses to step aside.